The house was cloaked in a hush, broken only by the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional rustle of leaves outside, stirred by a restless night breeze. I'd just finished a late-night snack, a bowl of cereal that tasted more like habit than hunger, and was padding softly through the hallway toward my room. The dimness of the house enveloped me, the kind of quiet that feels heavy, expectant, like the world is holding its breath. As I passed Aunt Lisa's door, slightly ajar, a sliver of warm light spilled into the corridor. A soft glow from her bedside lamp cutting through the darkness. I paused, my hand hovering near the doorframe, debating whether to knock or just peek inside. She must have fallen asleep with the light on, I thought, a simple enough explanation. But curiosity tugged at me, a quiet pull I couldn't quite ignore. I nudged the door open a fraction more, and my breath caught in my throat. There she was, lying on her bed, the covers tangled low around her hips, her nightgown a thin, silky thing riding up to reveal the smooth curve of her thigh. My heart gave a sudden, sharp thud, loud enough that I swore she might hear it. I should have turned away, closed the door, and walked off as if I'd seen nothing, but my feet stayed rooted. My eyes locked on her. Aunt Lisa had always been beautiful, the kind of radiant that made people steal second glances when she entered a room. Her dark hair fanned across the pillow, wild and loose. Her lips slightly parted as she breathed in slow, steady rhythms. My gaze drifted unbidden, trailing over the rise and fall of her chest, the way the fabric of her nightgown clung loosely to her curves, and the subtle way her legs had shifted apart, as if inviting the cool night air to caress her skin. Heat crept up my neck, a flush I couldn't control. This was wrong, had to be wrong, but the moment felt charged, intimate, like I'd stumbled into a secret she hadn't meant to share. And yet, here I was, drinking it in, my pulse racing, my fingers twitching at my sides. I took a step closer, my bare feet silent against the plush carpet. The air carried the faint scent of her perfume, something floral and warm, mingling with the natural warmth of her skin. It was intoxicating, pulling me further into the room despite the voice in my head screaming to retreat. Just as I thought I'd crossed the line, just as I was about to turn and slip away, her eyes fluttered open. She blinked slowly, her gaze unfocused for a moment before settling on me. "Sweetheart," she murmured, her voice thick with sleep, husky and low, sending a shiver racing down my spine. "What are you doing up so late?" I struggled to find words, my throat suddenly dry. "I saw your light on," I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. "I thought you forgot to turn it off." A small smile curved her lips as she stretched, the movement causing her nightgown to shift, revealing just a hint more of her thigh. "That's sweet of you," she said, running a hand through her tousled hair. "But I don't mind it. Sometimes I like to fall asleep with a little light." Her eyes held mine, warm, inviting, with a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. Curiosity, maybe, or something deeper. I nodded, my mind spinning, searching for an excuse to leave. "I should go," I said, though my feet didn't move. Her gaze softened, her head tilting slightly as she steadied me. "You sure?" she asked, her voice gentle but laced with something that made my stomach tighten. "You seem restless." I let out a shaky breath. "Yeah. Good night, Aunt Lisa," she hummed softly, her smile lingering as she shifted under the sheets. "Good night, sweetheart, sleep well." I forced myself to turn, my hand gripping the door handle as I stole one last glance over my shoulder. She closed her eyes again, her body relaxed, a soft sigh escaping her lips. I slipped out, shutting the door quietly behind me. But as I walked back to my room, my mind was anything but quiet. The image of her vulnerable, breathtaking burned behind my eyes, a secret moment etched into my memory. I knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke feeling like I'd emerged from a fever dream. My heart still carried the echoes of the night before, every detail of Aunt Lisa's form vivid in my mind. I tried to shake it off, to push the thoughts away, but they clung to me, persistent and unrelenting. At breakfast, she moved around the kitchen with effortless grace, her silk robe cinched loosely at the waist, revealing just enough to make my stomach twist. She looked up as I entered, flashing a warm, knowing smile. "Morning, sweetheart," she said, her voice dripping with its usual smoothness. "Sleep well?" I hesitated, my fingers tightening around the edge of the counter. "Yeah," I lied, my voice unsteady. "You," she hummed, pouring herself a cup of coffee. "I did. Though I think I remember someone sneaking into my room last night." Her tone was teasing, her eyes twinkling as she took a slow sip. Heat flooded my face. "I just saw your light on," I stammered, feeling exposed in a way I wasn't prepared for. "I didn't mean to." She let out a soft chuckle, shaking her head. "I'm just teasing, love." "But you were watching me for quite a while, weren't you?" My breath caught. Was she really asking that? I struggled to find words, my mind racing. I didn't mean to. I mumbled, my voice barely audible. You just look so peaceful. Her smile deepened, and she took another slow sip of her coffee before stepping closer. Her presence wrapping around me like a warm embrace. I don't mind, she said softly, it's sweet. Really? Knowing you care enough to check on me. Her hand reached out, brushing a stray hair from my face. Her fingertips grazing my skin just enough to send a shiver through me. You're always so thoughtful, she murmured. That's one of the things I love about you. Her words settled deep inside me, igniting something I couldn't ignore. Was this just innocent appreciation? Or was there more laced in her tone? Before I could untangle my thoughts, she stepped back, her smile casual but her eyes lingering. The rest of the day passed in a haze. I tried to distract myself with chores, my phone, anything to keep my mind off her. But every thought circled back to the way her robe had shifted, the teasing lilt in her voice, the warmth of her touch. By evening, I was restless, energy building inside me with nowhere to go. I stayed in my room, flipping through TV channels without really watching. The house settling into that same heavy quiet from the night before. A soft knock at my door broke the silence, unhurried, but deliberate. My breath caught as I sat up. Come in, I called, my voice steadier than I felt. The door opened, and there was Aunt Lisa, standing in the doorway, her satin nightgown hugging her figure just enough to make my pulse quicken. Hey, sweetheart, she said, stepping inside. You've been in here all day. Everything okay? I nodded quickly. Yeah, just tired, I guess. She gave me a knowing smile, leaning against the doorframe, her eyes scanning my face like she was searching for something unspoken. You sure? She asked. Her voice soft but probing. After a pause, she took a slow step forward. I meant what I said this morning. I swallowed. About what? She tilted her head, the soft lighting casting shadows along her collarbone. About you being thoughtful. About last night. Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. My heart pounded as she took another step closer, her presence filling the room. You were watching me, she murmured, her voice low. And I don't think it was just because my light was on. I froze, my fingers tightening in my lap. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She shook her head, her smile softening. You didn't. I'd never feel uncomfortable with you. She took another step, now close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from her. But you seem nervous. Is it because of me? I don't know, I admitted, my fingers fidgeting. Maybe. She didn't look surprised. Instead, she sat beside me on the bed, the mattress dipping slightly under her weight. The air between us shifted, thick with something unspoken, something I wasn't sure I could name. You don't have to be nervous around me, she said gently, her hand reaching out to brush my arm, a feather-light touch that sent a shiver through me. I'd never do anything to make you uncomfortable. I know, I said, my breath uneven. For a long moment, neither of us moved, the silence stretching, charged with anticipation. Then, slowly, she reached for my hand, her fingers tracing slow patterns over my skin. You don't have to say anything, she murmured, her voice barely audible. Just tell me, do you want me to leave? The question hung between us, delicate but heavy. A choice lay bare. My heart pounded, and I knew that whatever I said next would change everything. I exhaled slowly, turning my hand beneath hers, my fingers curling lightly around hers. No, I whispered, the word feeling like surrender. Her eyes darkened, a flicker of something deep passing through them. She gave a faint nod, as if some silent agreement had been reached. The tension didn't break, it thickened, wrapping around us like an invisible thread. She lifted my hand, bringing it to her lips, pressing the softest kiss against my knuckles. The gesture was simple but sent heat rushing through me, my skin burning where her lips had been. I let myself wonder, for the first time, what it would be like to let this happen. To stop fighting the pull I'd felt since the night before. Her fingers tightened around mine, her thumb brushing slow circles over my skin. You're trembling, she whispered, her voice dipping lower. Are you afraid? I wasn't sure how to answer. Was I afraid? Maybe, but not of her. What scared me was how much I wanted this. How much I didn't want her to let go. No, I murmured, my voice barely audible. I just don't know what this means. Her fingers tightened, grounding me. It doesn't have to mean anything, she said, her eyes locked on mine. Not if you don't want it to. We can stop right now. And nothing has to change. But everything had already changed. The moment I saw her lying there last night, something inside me had shifted. Now, with her so close, her warmth wrapping around me, I knew there was no going back. She must have seen it in my eyes because her lips curved into a knowing smile. You're thinking too much, she murmured, leaning closer, her breath ghosting over my skin. Sometimes it's okay to just feel. Her hand came up, fingers tracing the side of my face, tilting my chin until I had no choice but to meet her gaze. I should have been nervous, should have felt the weight of what this moment meant. But all I felt was the heat of her palm, the way her thumb brushed just beneath my lips. And then she kissed me, soft at first, testing, waiting. When I didn't pull away, when I exhaled against her, it deepened, her fingers slipping into my hair, drawing me closer. I melted into her, into the warmth, the softness, the way she tasted like something forbidden. Something I shouldn't want but craved. A soft sound escaped me, and I felt her smile against my lips, her hold tightening slightly, the slow, careful way she moved sent a shiver through me. Her hands tracing over me, exploring, unraveling me inch by inch. My body responded instinctively, arching into her touch, craving more. She broke the kiss, her forehead resting against mine, her breath uneven. You feel that? She whispered, her lips brushing mine. I nodded, unable to speak, my fingers curling into the fabric of her nightgown. She smiled, her hands slipping lower, tracing along my sides, making my breath hitch. I could do this all night, she murmured. Watching you discover how much you want this. Her words sent heat pooling in my stomach, my skin burning. I'd never felt this before, this slow unraveling. This ache that built with every touch, every whispered word. I parted my lips to respond, but she silenced me with another kiss, slower, deeper. Her fingers tracing along my collarbone, dipping lower, making my breath catch. She moved with purpose, savoring every reaction she pulled from me. I clung to her, overwhelmed, lost in the sensations, in the way she guided me through something I'd never known I needed. Time blurred as we tangled together in the dim light, the world outside fading until nothing existed but her touch, her breath, her presence. Her lips trailed downward, teasing, tasting, my body reacting on instinct. A quiet gasp slipping past my lips. She smiled against my skin, her fingers slipping lower, exploring, unraveling me further. That's it, she whispered, her voice like silk, coaxing, guiding. Let yourself feel it, and I did. I let go of the hesitation, the uncertainty, surrendering to the warmth of her touch. The way her body pressed so perfectly against mine, my head tilted back, my lips parting as she continued to explore, her movements deliberate, dragging out every second as if she wanted to etch this moment into my memory forever. It wasn't just the way she touched me, it was the way she looked at me, as though I was something precious, something she'd wanted for far too long but had never dared to reach for until now. You're so beautiful like this, she murmured, her fingers grazing my cheek, so responsive, so honest. Her words ignited something deep inside me, making me lean into her, wanting more, needing more. She smiled, her hands exploring, teasing, her movements slow and intentional. Are you sure you want this? She asked, her voice soft but serious, giving me one last chance to pull away. I met her gaze, my heart pounding. Yes, I whispered, the word a vow, a surrender. Her eyes darkened, the last of her restraint falling away. She leaned in, her lips grazing the corner of my mouth before trailing lower. Her breath hot against my skin, my body hummed, every nerve alive with anticipation. She guided me through every sensation, patient yet unrelenting, giving and taking in equal measure. Her touch was a mixture of soft and firm, teasing and claiming, and I wanted all of it. I lost myself in her, in the way she moved against me, the way she whispered my name like it was something sacred. When I gasped her name, breathless, shaking, she smiled against my lips, pressing one final, lingering kiss there. You're incredible, she whispered, her voice raw with emotion. I clung to her, my body still humming, my mind barely able to process the depth of what had just happened. She didn't pull away, didn't break the connection. Instead, she wrapped me in her arms, pulling me close, her fingers tracing soothing patterns along my back. For a long moment, neither of us spoke, the silence heavy with the weight of what we'd done. Then she tilted my chin upward, her gaze soft but intense. Are you okay? She asked, her voice gentle but carrying an unspoken question. Do you regret this? I met her eyes, searching for any sign of doubt, but found none. Only warmth, only patience. I let out a slow breath, a small smile tugging at my lips. I think I'm more than okay, I admitted, my fingers grazing her arm. She exhaled, relief washing over her features before pulling me closer, pressing a lingering kiss to my forehead. Good, she murmured, because I don't ever want to stop looking at you like this. Her words made my heart stutter, warmth blooming in my chest. As we lay there, tangled together in the dim glow of the room, a quiet certainty settled over me. Whatever this was, whatever it meant, I wasn't afraid of it anymore. Maybe it wasn't just a fleeting temptation, maybe it was something more. And as she held me closer, her lips pressing against my hair in a silent promise, I knew I didn't want this night to end. The room still held the weight of what had happened, the air thick with warmth and something almost sinful. My body tingled, my skin still humming, where she'd touched me, kissed me, claimed me in a way I'd never imagined possible. Everything had changed in the span of a single night. Yet lying beside her, tangled in sheets that smelled of us. It didn't feel real, it felt like a dream I never wanted to wake from. Aunt Lisa lay beside me, her bare shoulder peeking from beneath the sheets, the curve of her back exposed in the dim glow of the bedside lamp. Her fingers traced slow, lazy circles on my arm as if she were lost in thought, lingering in the moment as much as I was. She wasn't looking at me fully, but I could feel the weight of her gaze, stealing glances, memorizing the sight of me beside her. I turned my head, searching her expression, wondering if she felt the same tightness in her chest, the same insatiable hunger despite what we'd already done. "You're staring," she murmured, her lips curling into a smirk as she met my eyes. I swallowed, my throat dry. "Maybe." She chuckled softly, the sound sending a shiver down my spine. Rolling onto her side, she propped herself up on one elbow, her fingers grazing my collarbone in feather-light strokes that made my breath hitch. Her touch was intoxicating, her presence even more so, and I found myself trapped under the weight of her gaze, completely at her mercy. "Regrets?" she asked, though there was no real doubt in her voice, only curiosity. I shook my head, letting out a slow breath. "Not even close." Something dark flickered in her eyes, something dangerous and irresistible. "Good," she murmured, her fingers trailing lower. "Deliberate teasing, because I'm not done with you yet." My heart pounded, my pulse erratic as she leaned in, her lips hovering just above mine, her breath warm against my skin. The space between us was suffocating, charged with an energy that made my body tense with anticipation. I parted my lips to say something, but she silenced me with a kiss, slow, deep, filled with a hunger that sent heat pooling in my stomach. I melted against her, my fingers tangling in her hair, pulling her closer, needing more. Her hands moved over me with purpose, rediscovering, claiming, sending sparks of pleasure through me with every lingering touch. The sheets slipped lower, exposing more of her, more of me, until there was nothing left between us but skin and longing. Just when I thought I might lose myself completely, just when I was ready to surrender to the pull of her body against mine, a sharp knock shattered the moment. We both froze, my heart lurching into my throat as reality slammed into me. The warmth, the haze of desire, the intimacy we'd built had all vanished in an instant, replaced by sheer panic. "Lisa!" A voice called from the other side of the door, firm and patient. My mother. My stomach clenched as I turned to Lisa, wide-eyed, my breath catching. But she didn't look startled, no, she looked amused, her lips curling into a knowing smirk, her fingers still resting against my bare skin as if the interruption was a mild inconvenience. She leaned in, her lips brushing against my ear, her voice a hushed, wicked whisper. "Looks like you'll have to stay quiet, sweetheart." Heat surged through me, my panic momentarily drowned out by the way her breath tickled my neck, by the slow and